Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Radio. The original broadcast date is June 7th, 2019, and yes, I'm fresh from my triumphant appearance at the Inner Light Festival. Bad tarot card readings off the charts, people. Busy, busy, busy. I made bank. I paid my entire bar tab and still had cash left over in my pocket. So that's how good the Inner Light Festival was for moi. I want to welcome everybody. Of course, we're in the last 3 months now. We're in the run-up to the Scarefest 12, Scarefest 2019, Scarefest XII. Tonight, Mr. Jason Boyd joins me on camera as my co-host. Welcome, Jason. And our... Yeah, we needed a better beard tonight. We've been a little beard light. Then Claire Heaney is our guest tonight. We're talking about the Twilight Zone. We're talking about the and specifically the societal impact and we're concentrating on technology tonight. But and I want to tell you all, Amber, if you're listening, from now on, only book guests that have master's degrees. This young lady has given me an outline of talking points and things that are little snippets of her seminar, in other words. So we've got like the entire show covered and don't have to do a damn thing. I didn't even have to show up tonight. I could have just turned it over to them. But now, Claire, I will warn you. You need to speak to me as though I'm a 5th grader. Can you handle that?
Oh boy, I don't. Yeah, sure. We're just winging this.
Yeah. No, I knew I'd get along with Claire because she said when we were chatting on the show setup, she actually mentioned that she was looking forward to bullshitting for an hour. So anytime you can have a master's degree and use bullshitting in the context of the complete sentence, you're my kind of lady. So basically, let's start with just tell everybody what you will be speaking about specifically about the Twilight Zone at the Scarefest.
So I kind of want to leave it up as a just discussion among people who show up. So tonight I'd like to look at robots and technology, but we don't have to go that route. We can kind of just touch upon whatever episodes you guys want to talk about.
Well, actually, robots and technology works really well for me because I was telling you before the show, one of the episodes that I've rewatched recently was about robots. So I'm ready. I've done my homework. I've done more research than I usually do. Now I will say one show. Now here's my full disclaimer, my full confession. When I was a kid, I loved the show. I remember it came on WXIX TV, Channel 19 in Cincinnati. I could get it where I live. And I probably at one point or another have seen all of the original series. Mm-hmm. That being said, I don't remember a whole bunch of them. I'll be honest with you. And now this is where I feel like I might be a poor fan. Going back and watching them, I'm not going to say I don't enjoy them, but the limits of the knowledge, if you will, I guess, because you can't fault them for imagination. They had imagination out the ass. But the limits of the of the... It's like they didn't have a physicist on staff during a lot of it. Would you agree with that summary?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like when it comes to technology, it's almost comical, the stuff that they came up with. I know there was one episode called like Agnes with Love or something, and it literally was almost kind of like a Wheel of Fortune. Um, when it came up, like it had what she was trying to say, but it was just like little words, like little snippets. It was ridiculous. Like, like they couldn't predict that on where technology would be, or they might not have even had the budget for it.
Now, one episode that has nothing to do with the robots, but for some reason this episode sticks in my mind more than any of the others, and I did not go in and actually try to find the title of it. But here's the concept, people. Astronauts, or maybe just one. I know there was more than one. Return to Earth. Okay, they've been out in space. They return to Earth, and when they get there, no one is moving. All the people are there, but no one is moving. They're all frozen in time. So they think they're in some type of time warp. They think, oh my God, this is... And come to find out, they've landed in some intergalactic museum or something, and it's like the horror movie with the wax museum. They're basically the guy does something, stuns you, freezes you, and and sets you in a chair, and have you, and it. I don't know why that particular, because as far as the weirdness of the episodes, it wasn't over the top weird compared to the others, but for some reason that idea of being, maybe it was the whole idea of just being trapped in a moment, because he never really said whether he killed them or whether they were aware or whatever. And so, for what it's worth.
Nice.
Let's go ahead, and before I turn it over to Jason, we're going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to jump to the second one first, because that's the one in your outline. The Lonely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to give my summary, and then you give your summary.
Okay.
Some guy did something in the future. It's in the future, everyone. Some guy did something really, really bad, but rather than send him to a prison, they decided it was more, I don't know if it was more humane or economically feasible or what. They put him on a freaking asteroid and flew supply missions to him 4 times a year. Now, that's the part that bugged me about it. Now, one guy felt sorry for him and brought him, i.e. tonight's theme, a robot. A female robot. Who was, to me, not particularly interesting. I mean, it was just, it was a female robot, and I mean, she was pretty, but beyond that, and then I'm not going to give the spoilers, but shit goes down. So, how would you have summarized
it's been
that?
out for a while. I feel like you can totally give spoilers.
Well, basically, they decided to pardon him, and rather than haul him and his girlfriend robot back, they said, no, it's just a robot, shot her in the face, and then he was all upset.
Yeah.
So I should write for IMDb. I should write the summaries for IMDb.
And then bam, bam, boom, boom, done, done.
Now, when you look at that episode, what do you see?
I guess like the human connection with technology. That he really only started feeling for the robot when she started crying. Because at first he had a little bit of reluctancy to get to know her. So I think that's kind of where I was steering with, like, this artificial love that they have. Because does he really love her, or does he just love the companionship?
Love can grow.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying. What she's talking about, everyone, if you have not seen the episode, when they first drop her off, the guy's all pissed off because, I wanted a real girl, I guess would be the idea behind it. He wanted a real person. He wanted more real human interaction.
And
but
she looks
because
like a female, so let's like she looks and acts like a real person,
yeah,
a real woman. So
actually
that's really
better
when he starts getting that connection.
better personality than some of the girls I dated, I will say.
Nice.
Now, but yeah, basically when she shows emotion, even though in the back of his head he knows it's not real emotion because that's
Mhm.
a 5-minute speech he gives about how she's a fake person, and then she cries and, well, you're not, does the whole Pinocchio thing with
It's a
her.
soap opera.
Yeah.
Intergalactic soap opera.
But I see now when I watched it, I didn't really think about our connection to technology. I did think about the connection to people. In other words, the idea of being isolated all by yourself on an asteroid a bazillion miles from Earth. You would cling to anything that resembled human interaction. So I guess I saw it. I gathered more from the weakness of the human condition than I did the our attachment to technology.
I like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it just totally blew your seminar all to hell right there. No, but
Time to exit. Goodbye.
the how so to follow up on your thing, what do you see? When did this fascination with technology? Because this was before the internet. But why is the human condition becoming more? When did it start becoming so reliant on technology, and why are we so over the top on it now? Why have we become so reliant on technology?
Oh, I don't know that. I mean, maybe it's just because it's really like in our faces, literally, right? We've got our phones within arm reach. Um, I mean, I even use like the idea of like GPS and when it comes to cars that we have a little camera to literally help us back out of a driveway. Like, I mean, it's just everywhere.
Yeah,
Like we need to learn our own
I
skills. We have skill sets,
I drove Brandon Griffith's truck, and his has the backup camera, and so I'm backing his truck up, and he goes, just use the camera. I said, we'll be home by the time I learn to use the camera. Now in full confession here, I have become terribly reliant on GPS. I can read a map, but I never did have any sense of direction. So GPS I will admit, has been a lifesaver for yours truly.
My GPS yells at me. She's this little sassy woman that every time I make a wrong turn, she kind of like gets really snippy with me.
I would like that GPS. The only time mine got really manic, I was going up I think it was the Bluegrass Parkway. And they were working on it, as they often are. But this time they had you diverted to the other side of the parkway. So in other words, all the traffic was on the... Oh, and she thought I was going the wrong way on the Bluegrass Parkway. And I had to listen to that bitch for 90 miles say, turn around! Turn around! We got this. Jason, over to you.
Well, as far as the episodes and stuff, I guess I'm more into the human condition, I guess, side of things. But probably my all-time favorite episode that I still to this day remember is The Time Enough at Last, because that's like that episode was made for me, because I have things that people hate for me to do. I finally get time to do them, and the world blows up, and then something happens, and I can't do what I want to do. So. But of course, there's, like I said, I'm always fascinated with the time travel side of things and aliens, because again, there's another particular episode I like where aliens had landed in I guess like a cul-de-sac, like a subdivision or something, and the lights go out and the neighbors start turning on each other, and I think it's kind of I mean, do you think that's kind of a more accurate representation? I mean, I know in Men in Black he said that people are, the person is smart, but people are panicky, dangerous, and dumb. I mean, you kind of think that's kind of how that was described way back, in the Twilight Zone episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just human nature, right? That, like, I know there was the episode with the bunker where they're at a barbecue, and then the neighbors, now that they get the word that there is going to be a nuclear attack, that the neighbors all like want to get in on the bunker, but there's only so many supplies for the family, and then you see just how quickly people start bashing him and just trying to get to their safety and their personal what their motives are. So I think, yeah. If
Well,
that
there's I think that's kind of where and again, I'm a big Fallout nerd. And Fallout actually does a lot of pop culture references and stuff. And in
Gotcha.
Twilight Zone, there's actually several Twilight Zone episodes that it references in there or has a similar thing. And incidentally enough, there actually is in Fallout 4. There's a small neighborhood, and there's a bunker there, and there's several people sitting outside the bunker, like they were trying to get in.
Oh, wow.
Of course, there's bodies at the bottom of it because nobody made it out alive, I guess. So that's something I always thought was really neat, how they actually get in there and make references. And I'm thinking, oh, I've seen this show before, and then of course naturally it's the Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, the little side note, I've been watching the Chernobyl HBO show too, and I think Fallout also makes a reference to that, like the Ferris wheel in Chernobyl. I think that's a video game. I don't play a lot of video games, so.
Oh yeah, Fallout references Lassie and Outer Limits, Twilight Zone,
awesome.
Indiana Jones. I mean, they've got stuff pegged on there. So, and then of course I mentioned the whole time paradox, and there's and I can't remember the name of the episode, but there's one where it's a family set back in the 1800s, and they're doing the wagon train, and the son falls ill, and they pick him up, and they're carrying him to trying to find some sort of a civilization. Well, they come up on a gas station. It's like they stepped over the hill, and it's I think it's called a casual loop. It's a time paradox, basically, that you're at one point in time, and it comes around and hits, and basically goes a different direction. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the little boy ends up getting saved by penicillin and takes it back, and he ends up becoming the inventor of penicillin.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of a paradox there thing. So again, that's something I always find neat with, how they, they can do like, the time travel thing. Cause that's, again, something that's always fascinated me. And, of course, Richard Matheson wrote a lot of the novels or a lot of the stories and stuff. And I'm a huge fan of Richard Matheson, especially I Am Legend.
Wow.
Which was a major influence on Night of the Living Dead and, that terrible movie with Will Smith. Not dissing Will Smith. I think he did a fantastic job.
Movie.
The music everything was just terrible. The movie itself. What did you think about that movie, Wes?
I like that movie. Damn, me and you don't see eye to eye on shit, do we?
Well, I'm a bit surprised, man. So Last Man on Earth was my thing. I love that movie.
We're going to go ahead and take our commercial break, everybody. But, okay, I'll say it when we come back. Everybody, you're watching Scarefest Radio. We'll be right back.
Have you checked out the Mama Ruby's family of metaphysical and spiritual shows? The Mystical Fair in Lexington, Kentucky, Lexington's only monthly psychic and holistic healing arts fair. The Inner Light Festivals in Louisville in June and Lexington in November. And watch for Mama Ruby's Expo coming in 2020. Plus, Mama Ruby's Meta Lecture Series featuring interesting guests speaking on fascinating subjects. Start your journey now at mamarubies.com for more information.
And we're back with more Scarefest Radio. By the way, the next Mystical Fair in Lexington, Kentucky, July 13th and 14th. No Mystical Fair this month. They have the Inner Light first of the month. There's another event coming up in Elizabethtown I'll tell you a little bit about later, coming up later in the month. So the Mystical Fair, July 13th and 14th, mysticalfairlex.com. Anyway, what I was so excited about before the commercial break, any discussion henceforth about time travel, I will not have until the person has watched the history of time travel. I saw that on Amazon Prime, and that movie rocked my world, I have to tell you. And it had a budget of like $30. So
That's awesome.
I cannot even describe the concept of it because it is so confusing to sit through that movie and watch it. But it makes sense. But if you miss if you're not paying close attention, you'll go, what the hell just happened? So I just wanted to throw that out there. Also, The Legends of Tomorrow. I'm kidding. Their take on time travel. I'm sorry. That's it is not great. Anyway, back to the presentation and our guest, Miss Claire Heaney. Now, to follow up on the technology theme, now this is something I mentioned to you, and this is about how technology affects our lives. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be an old married man in that I don't have to worry about the dating scene nowadays because the dating scene has been taken over by technology. I never would have thought it would have happened.
Yeah. So I'm, like I said, I'm going for my thesis in family sciences, and I really want to kind of hone in on the idea of like the stability of relationships that come from dating apps, because I don't have a lot of hope. I think
have people been using them long enough though to really make a qualified assessment? I mean,
so there's been like the research that I have done so far, there's been enough to kind of like piggyback off of. Yeah, because I think it's a whole bag of things. So we got a lot to dig in.
Yeah, well, one of the things you pointed out that I had not even considered, if your relationship is based, surely a person wouldn't marry them just because you had a really cool profile picture. But that being said, okay, you meet somebody based on the app, and then you get married. But because this is our societal, quick fix, if you will, do it the easy way. Mm-hmm. One of the things that you're wondering, that your research is pointing towards, will the partner, when they get bored, mm-hmm. will they just go back to the dating app or another app that,
they'll get a robot.
Robot. Speaking of robots.
Yeah, let's get a robot, because they have those, the lifelike dolls or whatever now.
Yeah.
They developed AI that, can possibly turn on you and kill you now, so that's kind of awesome.
If you're into that kind of thing,
Well, I mean,
if you're gonna do it right, so.
Think about it, Jason. They announced today that Walmart is wanting to deliver groceries to your house.
Oh, God.
Amazon is already wanting to deliver your packages with a robot. If Walmart starts delivering your groceries to your refrigerator using a robot, you will be inviting these things into your home.
Well, but look at the bright side, though. I mean, Walmart, you see people wearing, God knows what, pajamas and everything else. So at least that'll be more normal when they bring it to your home. But, I'm still hoping maybe they'll have something like a 30-foot tall robot that can shoot, boxes from its, Gatling gun and shoot them all over the neighborhood.
Like a t-shirt gun, those t-shirt guns at the.
Hopefully you don't have fine china in it,
And little parachutes flying everywhere,
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Wasn't like Amazon, don't they have like these buttons that you click as kind of like a quick way to get Tide back in your house or something? Like it's like instead of literally logging onto your Amazon account and clicking I want more Tide, you just click a button that will do it for you. Like how easy are we gonna to simplify things,
My house would be full of buttons. One for things that I can't live without. Tide, coffee.
Yeah.
Beer.
Yeah.
A coffee button would be nice. Yeah, I could definitely live with that.
Yeah. Yeah, don't get me started on Keurig. I hate Keurig.
So, and one of the other episodes, I was actually just looking through the list because, believe it or not, I've seen every episode. I just half of them I can't recall the names of them, but another one I thought had a bit of irony to it was the Midnight Sun, I think it was called, and it was where the Earth, the woman wakes up and the Earth is spinning closer towards the sun, and then come to find out that was a dream. And she wakes up and everything is fine and it's cooled down, and come to find out they're actually spinning away from the sun. I'm like, the irony in these shows are just insane.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, because you think, okay, would it be better to, to burn up into the sun, or would it be better to be thrown out in space and, die of freezing temperatures or, lack of, oxygen or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how that all works. I never, passed my
death. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I never went to NASA, so I don't know exactly how that works. But so I mean, but a lot of those episodes, I'm just kind of looking at the list here, were a lot of it was irony. I mean, it wasn't so much like you said with the robot situation and with in time travel, but I mean, of course,
well, I mean, like the episode that you just mentioned, At Time at Last. I mean, that right there is like the perfect example of irony, right? That like he finally gets all of the time in the the world that he needs, and then boom, there goes his glasses, and he breaks them, and he's stuck with all of the books that he wants to read, but doesn't have the ability to see.
And that would be probably my biggest fear, because I like to say I've got tons of books, and some of them I get to read on occasion, and that would of course, knock on wood, I don't have to wear glasses, so that, I mean, of course, now I'm not saying a bird wouldn't come by and pick my eyes out, and then I would be
right.
But yeah, of course, now I know a lot of the episodes they made into the movie, and then of course, I remember these as a kid. When they aired back in the 80s, they actually remade the Twilight Zone.
Canadian. And I think those were a lot of like original, like they didn't really piggyback off of what Sterling did and the original episodes.
They did, let's see, I think, it's maybe the movie. They did the one where the kid wishes people out in the corner.
Yes, and then they really like amplified it. It was kind of eerie to begin with from the original series, and then supposedly there are like 2 other twist endings that Sterling came up with, but because of the parameters of the like 60s, they couldn't put that on TV. What was it with the kid that wishes his family kind of under his control?
Yeah, that was always of course, naturally when you're that age, that's you envy the kid, because you're thinking, wow, this is a power I want to have. But of course, I think the 80s, a lot of those, I remember a few of the episodes actually were pretty scary, and I'm not mistaken, I remember one in particular about I want to say the teacher was a werewolf, or she was some kind of a monster that can change into things, and she was stalking this kid. And of course, at the time, I had this teacher I just absolutely couldn't stand, and I knew there was something wrong with her. I knew
God. I thought it was going to go the other way, but go on.
So yeah, I can totally say that I can relate to that kid as well. I mean, that episode scared the crap out of me.
Teachers are scary enough,
Yeah.
I was going to be a teacher.
But he knew there was something up with her, and she ends up chasing him throughout the show. And like I said, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I don't really remember too much about the 80s episodes. I just know that some of those were more horror themed, where a lot of the Twilight Zone, of the 50s and stuff were more, like time paradoxes and, like I said, robots, technology. There was one I watched not too long ago about the old couple that finds new bodies.
Yes, I love that one.
And,
I mean, but it's sweet. Like the ending of it is like the Twilight Zone had some really just kind of heartwarming episodes as well, which I like because I'm a total hopeless romantic.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, and it's and that's the kind that it really shows, I guess, especially Rod Serling's his ability to write, because like I said, some of these episodes, I'm like, I had no idea he wrote that. Or like I said, of course, and as I started watching the episodes, I started noticing more different people, and I kind of can tell their style.
Yes.
Like I said, Richard Matheson has his own style, and he is big into kind of like Isaac Asimov. He's more into the dystopian future, and of course, Isaac Asimov was into robots as well.
Gotcha.
And he wrote, I want to say, "Do Robots Dream of Electric Sheep?"
Yeah.
Which is what Blade Runner's based off of.
Well, I thought, was it Philip K. Dick? Or
Maybe that was it Philip K. Dick? Yeah, maybe it was. I know that, and then of course that was turned into the movie Blade Runner. And of course, Fallout referenced that in Fallout 4 with the synths and the coursers, they call them. These guys were sent out to recover the synths because they're synthetic humans. So it's funny how that kind of, like I said,
Blade Runner is like a whole. Just that is its own entity. I mean, to really like sit down and understand it. And then they had the second movie, which I was way over my head. I didn't understand any of that. So
they do. I mean, but it just amazes me how these especially with Twilight Zone, how a lot of these episodes and stories and stuff, made leap years and stuff, and actually made it into modern culture. Because I mean, even in Fallout, they reference there's a gun, the gun that he carries in Blade Runner. They call it that gun. Nobody really knows what the name of it is, so it's actually a special weapon called that gun, and it looks just like the gun from the game. And I thought, well, that's so interesting how, again, that you have people out there that are still fascinated with all the old shows and things like Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
And then of course,
like with because you'd mentioned the 80s, and then I know in the like the 50s and not 50s, but the 60s, they also kind of expanded the Twilight Zone episodes to an hour, and I love that kind of little like 23 minute just condensed version of these these little like short stories. That's where I really get excited about it when it comes to watching.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like I said, a lot of these people, and see, I actually, I'm actually friends with Ann Serling, which is his daughter, on Twitter.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so she actually posts a lot of pictures and a lot of behind the scenes on the Twilight Zone, and I mean, of course,
awesome.
just with Rod's life and everything, and just just releases some amazing things. And of course, I recommend anybody's got Twitter, if you get a chance to follow her. She's under Ann Serling. But she posts all kinds of neat things about little tidbits about the Twilight Zone and about about her dad. Nice. And just some of the things, some of the accomplishments he's had and stuff outside of the Twilight Zone as well. So
yeah. Do you know, like, does she write as well?
I'm not exactly sure. I think she does, but she's, like I said, she does a lot of a lot of promotion with his work and everything. So
that's awesome. I love like passing on legacies and stuff.
Which is I'm all about. I've been harassing Nicole and Brandon for years about trying to get some of the like Bela Lugosi Jr. and Ron Chaney and some of the other grandsons and sons of the famous Monsters guys. So I mean, like I said, there's so many episodes. I mean, I don't know if we could even cover them all in an hour. And like I said, just going through a lot of lists here, I'm like, that one was fantastic. And of course, there was episodes where they touched on sensitive subjects like racism, and there was like you said, there was more. I guess I don't know what you really call them. I guess like the vanity one about the the beholder.
Yeah. So aestheticism is kind of like a whole. That was my alternative to this topic. Is just talking about the idea of beauty and of age. I think there was just kind of maybe a fear of that time period of just being that like perfect, beautiful person, but at what extent?
Yeah, and that seemed like they touched on a few episodes with that one. There was of course, there was that. I think the Eye of the Beholder, I believe, was the one where the woman wakes up and she's worried she's going to be disfigured, and she wakes up and looks beautiful, but everybody else around her is disfigured. And there was the one where I think it was set in a dystopian future where beauty was the standard. Like you had to get surgery and you had to,
Is it like number 15? I want to look like something along that, where like there are only a couple of models, and then there was a girl who looked, she's pretty, but just normal looking, and at that time they were like, all right, well, which which structure do you want to have? I mean, that goes into like cosmetology. Is cosmetology? No, that's not a real yeah, cosmetology. The beauty.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah,
That's a
well,
word.
but I mean, yeah.
I don't know of anything about that.
Well,
It's not my. I
yeah,
don't research that.
people that like I said, with that are. I mean, look at the Kardashians and how they, they're all over the news.
Yes,
I can't
exactly.
stand them. But I mean, of course, people have shown pictures of what they look like, prior to their fame. I use that term loosely, and how much plastic surgery and how they are conformed to look a certain way, I guess. And of course, now people in society think, well, I need to look like that. I need to be beautiful. I watched a short clip on YouTube, and it's one of those rabbit holes I get into, and I start looking for something and researching. It was talking about the like how Instagram and all, and these again models, how they use these deceptive tricks with the camera to make themselves look beautiful, and in turn make other people feel bad about themselves because I don't look like that.
Yeah.
And then of course it did behind the scenes, and it showed what those people actually look like without the filters, without the cameras and stuff. And and of course, I mean, the whole thing wasn't really shaming them per se, but it was more you need to be comfortable with your own skin. You need you are a beautiful person. You don't need to follow somebody that looks a certain way or has a certain standard. So and of course, like I said, the Twilight Zone hit the nail on the head with that back then. Of course, I guess we really didn't, it didn't really click back then, I guess, because that really wasn't an issue. You mean, you had Marilyn Monroe and, Mimi Van Doren, and, they were built that way. They didn't have cosmetic surgeries and things, at least it wasn't as, prevalent as it is today. So, and it's just amazing how, again, back then they were, I guess, addressing issues that we're having now, and probably more so worse now than it ever has been.
Yeah. So kind of even to go off of that, thinking about like dating apps and things like that, I think deception is a huge area of research, because a lot of people, with selfies and things like that, can totally alter their appearance, and then you meet people in real life, and they're regular people. They're not robots. They're not fake. So
that's the thing that irritates me the most about all these filters and apps and things is, just be yourself. You don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Yeah.
Somebody out there is going to find you attractive. They're going to love you. And, and I think it's where a lot of these filters and things come from. They build this person up, and then when you see them, you're like, oh, and not that it's a bad thing.
It's not bad, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, but you're
setting yourself up for failure, kind of.
In this picture here, and it's what you actually see is completely different.
Exactly.
So I think that's again where the technology aspect of it. Of course, and then you have we'll touch up on the whole robots thing again with the as we affectionately call them bots. Hey, how are you? Hey, I've got can I get your email? I've got a website I want you to check out. It's $20 an hour. It's the I don't want to use the expression that a lot of people call them, but they're called cam, word. So I think a lot of that's again, that's kind of like of course people write these programs just for the sole purpose of sucking in poor
solicitation,
money. So again, and that I think that again, Twilight Zone probably touched upon several times, and we just completely ignored it, I guess.
Well, I hate to go off onto Black Mirror, but I think Black Mirror really talks a little bit about social media and stuff, just because Twilight Zone couldn't even predict that. And they're Black Mirror, for the majority of it, is just way over my head. I don't get a lot of it, but there are definitely a couple episodes that look into like rating. There's one called Nosedive that talks about how we're kind of based off of ratings. So kind of like how we're with credit scores. That's how we're based off, just on regular, hey, I bought you a coffee kind of thing. So that's a whole, maybe in 2020, maybe I'll do a Black Mirror
Actually, that'd be something to touch up on, though. But hey, Wes, it's probably we got commercial time here. I'd actually like to keep expanding on that and stuff and get your thoughts on the whole, robot dating app thing.
Well, we will take our commercial break, and when we come back, I'm too old for robot dating.
Oh, no.
Anyway, we'll be right back, everybody.
Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Find them every month at Lexington, Kentucky's Mystical Fair, mysticalfairlex.com, or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being. Everyone is talking about CBD oil. Most of us know that CBD is a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits, but does not make people high. Its benefits include pain relief, anti-seizure properties, anxiety relief, fights cancer, reduces the risk of diabetes, and it is even used as a sleep aid. Blue Leaf Naturals CBD and hemp products are full-spectrum hemp extract oils. They use only hemp grown in Kentucky, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses and helping you and your family stay healthy and well. Blue Leaf Naturals, created with care from seed to shelf. Visit their website at blueleafnaturals.com. Blue Leaf Naturals, a Kentucky proud company.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to coyotechris.com to learn more.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Radio. Another reminder about another one of our sponsors, Akashic Awareness, Metaphysical and Healing and Learning Center in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Now, the reason there's no the Mystical Fair this month, and another reason besides Inner Light, is that they are hosting the Beacon of Light Festival down at Akashic Awareness in Elizabethtown, Saturday, June 22nd. That's 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 328 Sycamore Street. Basically, they're putting together in their metaphysical healing center. They're having a little event where they'll have extra readers, extra things going on. So the 22nd, and I am going to try to go. So check that out. If you want to know more about the Beacon of Light Festival, it is beaconoflightfestival.com. beaconoflightfestival.com, or go to akashicawareness.com to find out what they've got coming up in the meantime, including tomorrow, Happy Place Workshop with Debbie Stroud. I just want to know what that's about. Anyway,
if you find out, let me know, because I want to sign up too.
You need to find your happy place. What episode that I did want to find out about? Now, this one does not ring a bell with me. Living Doll. Now, this is one that you put in your show notes.
No.
This is the one.
Picture.
This is the one that she says still scares her, even to this day. What's the synopsis on that one?
Talkie Tina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That had Telly Savalas in it. I think that was the episode. If I'm thinking, had Telly Savalas in it. He was the dad, I think, or stepdad in it. Yeah, that was creepy. And believe it or not, Trick or Treat Studios, I think, made a replica of that doll. So you can actually buy it.
I would not want to buy it.
Well, I mean, is the doll just creepy, or does it kill anybody, or
No,
what happens?
it literally looks just like a regular baby doll, and but she starts out with like, I'm talking Tina, and I don't think I like you, and then like he just keeps trying to, because no one else can hear her talk, other than like
Okay.
yeah. So he keeps trying to like burn it. She won't burn. He tries like killing it, and she doesn't move. She's not like Chucky or anything like that. But she ends up killing him because she's on the foot of the stairs. How'd she get there? And then he falls down the stairs and splits his head open. So
Probably my dog.
not fun. Yeah.
It's funny because there's actually a band that it's funny because I've heard the song before, but it's actually, the whole song is nothing but it's episodes of the Twilight Zone written in song form. And Talking Tina, he says it. One of the scenes, it says something about hanging out with Tiny Tina and Captain Kirk, which is because he played in the Phantom, or was it 20,000
feet?
Yeah, Nightmare at 20,000 feet. Yeah. So that was kind of funny because it actually references Talking Tina there. And another episode, it's funny because we were just discussing about the whole robots and technology, is The Old Man in the Cave. Because the first time, I actually didn't really, I only saw that once as a kid, and then I watched it again later on, because I'm not mistaken, Netflix has some of the Twilight Zone episodes. And that was the one about where these people worship this old man in a cave, and come to find out it's like a pre-war computer, because I mean, it's a dystopian future where they've been completely obliterated by bombs and hydrogen bombs and everything, and they listen to this supposed wise old man, and they come to find out it's actually an old pre-war computer that was somehow stashed away in this cave, and it talks to them now, and they worship this thing. So, again, that's another, where technology, I guess, kind of, is dominant, I guess, in our society, or how they saw it.
I kind of wonder why so many of the Twilight Zone episodes dealt with robots. Because there's actually quite a few, and even Robbie the Robot was in. Matter of fact, I think it was a premiere episode. I think the very first episode was that's where Death was. It might have been the second episode, but Death was after this old man, and he made a deal with him. But interestingly enough, even in that episode, the guy was a toy seller. And one of the things he sold was a replica of Robbie the Robot.
And yeah, I love Robbie the Robot. Of course, I think he was at least a version of him was in Forbidden Planet too. So
sounds right.
Leslie Nielsen. And I got bored one day when I was at work, and I actually made several Robbie the Robot toys on the 3D printer too. So.
I think he made so many appearances because I think whoever owned the rights to him just gave him away. Because he was in a lot of... he was in Lost in Space with the other robot. I mean, that was,
I think, if I'm not mistaken, though, I think you can buy a replica of Robbie for, like, the small sum of $3,000. So.
Oh, my God.
For that much, I can get one of those sex dummies you were talking about earlier in the show.
I was gonna say maybe a car, but yeah, maybe a sex dummy would get more use.
Well, see, I'm trying to stay on topic.
If you can make coffee for me, I would gladly have one here. Just if that would be the coolest coffee maker I'd ever had. So.
Yeah. Now, I did want to go back to something you all were talking about a minute ago. Is all the filters and everything that people use. Because, now this is, okay, first of all, think about it. We don't take photos anymore. As far as having photos. We have everything on our phone.
We have to, like, pay for someone to take photos of you.
But I'm worried now that, first of all, if you lose your phone, you've just lost 2 years worth of your memories. Because most people don't back shit up. But the other thing is, I know people that if they were kidnapped tomorrow, I could not provide you with an accurate picture of them. Because
I said that, and when it comes to like a couple years down the road, when it comes to us dying, and we've got the memorial, like, is it going to be just graduation photos or selfies? Like, it's like, what's going to be at the funerals?
It's going to have to be a InstaSnap or whatever these kids use these days. It's going to be a pre.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I just
little puppy dog.
I did. That's what where I was going. I was just picturing somebody laying in the coffin and the picture hanging on the wall has the little dog ears on it and the little nose and. Yeah.
Terrible.
But I can't even say this is a generational thing because I know people my age that cannot hold a conversation anymore. You go out to dinner and, I mean, they're sitting there on their phone and, going through Facebook. And the only thing, I think my generation, the only thing I do think somehow we didn't get the gene of taking photos of our food. For whatever reason. I don't see a lot of people my age, oh, look, I'm having a bologna sandwich and taking a picture of it.
Yeah, I feel like with the photos of food, it initially started with like, hey, look, I'm adulting and I made this meal by myself. And then it just started transitioning into like, hey, look, I'm out eating by myself. Like, great, you got a hamburger from a restaurant. You did it.
Well, I mean, and of course, in some people's defense, have you seen the Bigfoot's mother-in-law at Copper River?
Mm-mm.
Have you seen one of those? They you could fit a steak knife probably about.
Oh my God!
See here, the blade being that long, straight through it and not touch the plate. This thing is.
I mean, but
yeah.
maybe finishing that too would be an accomplishment.
Exactly. I mean, so that to me is photo worthy.
Novelty food, I will grant you, Jason. I will
Exactly.
grant you. But just because you go to Cracker Barrel and have the,
maybe somebody finds the bologna sandwiches erotic. I don't know. I mean,
it all comes back to that to you, doesn't it, Jason?
Well, I mean, what's that rule something or other where there's supposed to be if it exists, there's a porn version of it, or parody. So
well, that's because everything that can be created has been created. That's I do believe that there are no original thoughts anymore.
And that's actually true because watching horror movie and science fiction, I've noticed a lot of the movies and things have ripped off stories of Twilight Zone. As a matter of fact, I watched something the other day. I was like, holy hell. I was like, this is a Twilight Zone episode. They just expanded it and added more dialogue, but it was the exact same premise of Twilight Zone. I mean, I have to remember what the movie was, but it was really like, I was like, I'm surprised I didn't get sued for that because it was just an exact ripoff of that episode, just slightly extended.
One that she brought up in her show notes, Steel, which the concept behind that episode was that boxing has become illegal, I'm sure because...
In 1975, mind you. Yeah. That was the future.
Because, everybody was a bunch of pansies, so robots did the fighting for them. Well, then, here we are, then, back in, 10 years ago or so, Real Steel, the movie, with Hugh Jackman, who my wife just absolutely loves, basically follows the same premise, if not the same ending. So, like I said, the show was visionary. I have no doubt about that. But, like I said, I just feel like they should have hired somebody who had read a book. The one that I was talking about before the show, there's one where basically, once again, it looks like actually, it didn't even look like a dystopian future when it came out. It was just a few years in the future. And everybody was scared to death of nuclear war. And the premise of the movie was the Holocaust was upon them. So someone had invented a spaceship, and this family decided to steal the spaceship. Just so you know, that wasn't his day job, building spaceships. But he could steal the spaceship, put his family on there, fly it to this other planet they had scoped out that was just like theirs. Air, sun, third planet from the sun. Come to find out, they were on another planet and they were coming to Earth. 11 million miles. Yet, on their planet, they were still using rotary phones. So,
It's funny you mentioned that because there's it was talking. I remember seeing a list about how some of the major motion pictures they have out have ripped off Twilight Zone, and one of them actually is called The Whole Truth, and supposedly Liar Liar was based off of that episode.
Oh wow.
The movie with Jim Carrey.
Carrey.
And then of course somebody actually referenced Child's Play in Talking Tina about the killer doll thing. So you know, I mean, yeah, it's just amazing how, you know, Little Girl Lost and Poltergeist. You know, like I said, there's a lot of, you know, different tie-ins there. So I actually did find a really good website one time that actually did have an entire list of the movies now that did rip off episodes. And you're like, you know, I had no idea, you know, that was, you know, that, you know, they basically was that blatant, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, we're at the end of the episode. Our guest tonight has been Claire Heaney. Now, she will be appearing at the Scarefest, presenting a seminar on the Twilight Zone, concentrating on the technology connection to modern day. And I think, based on how you kind of described it, I think you'd like people to come in there with their favorite episode in mind, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I like the idea of like having a discussion. Not to be like a shameless plug or anything. I have no affiliation with this, but this has been super helpful. It's called the Twilight Zone in Philosophy. It's been just a really good guide for kind of thinking outside of the box when it comes to the episodes and certain themes.
Is that available on Kindle? I'm kidding.
Oh no, no, I don't think so. No, I got this actually from the UK library, so
Okay.
I didn't even pay for it.
There you go. So
Yeah.
everybody, looking forward to meeting you in person at the Scarefest Claire,
Me too.
and everybody, if you're a fan of the Twilight Zone, this will be a seminar that you'll want to catch, and if not, then maybe we'll have sex robots. Who knows?
All right, thank you guys.
You're very, very welcome. Once again, homework, everybody. If you're a fan of time travel, the history of time travel. It's on Amazon Prime. The history of time travel. If you want to have a
Twilight
discussion,
was on Netflix as well, so
very
It
well
is.
could be. Very well could be.
Why I'm keeping my Netflix. I've got a lot of moochers on my Netflix, but I need my Twilight Zone episodes.
So you're one of those people. Okay, everybody.
Yeah, I'm the resource.
I just I can't do it. I don't give anybody any of my stuff except my knowledge. I will share my knowledge. Everybody, Scarefest Radio. We'll see you next week.